Hello, this is Professor Scott Norman from Pittsburgh State University, and we have another installment of Gorillas in the Midst of the Automotive Industry. Today I have a special guest, Brett Eichkorn. Brett Eichkorn is from Topeka. I know a little bit about him, and he is a 1990 graduate of PSU. His first job was with a very young Professor Norman going up to Detroit, Michigan. We drove up together to start our careers with Chevrolet Motor Division at the Customer Assistance Center. So Brett is a very good friend of mine. We were in the same fraternity in college. We actually were roommates when we first moved up to Detroit and starting our great adventure together. And so, Brett, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I like your PSU gorilla hat. So that is fantastic. That is fantastic.
Proud gorilla, yes.
So I know that you were from Topeka, but I don't know if you had any automotive experience before you came to PSU. Did you study automotive? Did you work in the shop with your dad? Did you just come to PSU with no knowledge of automobiles whatsoever?
No, through high school, I was able to take an automotive technology class there, and they kind of just ran you through, a little bit of everything on the car. We had a V8 engine that was on a stand that would run, and we would take it apart and look at the carburetor and things like that. And it was all high school-based automotive technology. And from there was Washburn University had what they had automotive technology there, what they called WA Tech, I think, at that time, and took some auto body classes there. I just always loved cars and knew that I wanted to work for an OEM. It's an original equipment manufacturer, and be a service rep, sales rep, do something in that realm. And so I sought out Pittsburgh State at that time and saw the 4-year degree. Took the Bachelor of Science in Automotive Service Management with a business minor, and loved it. And it's right where I want to be.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
When you were at PSU, did you happen to do any internships during that time? Did you get any more experience while you were there going to school?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had an internship with Advance Auto Parts, formerly known as Western Auto.
Oh, yeah.
And we did. They had a assistant store manager position for interns, and I did that in Topeka and in Kansas City. Did like 4 weeks of training in Kansas City, and then went to manage the store in Topeka as an assistant manager. So they took you through everything, having you sell everything from, tires and wheel balances to alignments to every kind of part for the vehicle. So it was really good. And you also got to learn to, to run the store and the cash register and the budget. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that is a good experience. And so you graduated in 1990. So Brett, you know what that means? If that was 1990 and it's 2020 now, we could say that, hey, we have 30 years of experience from PSU. I tell my students, when I was a student in your seats 30 years ago, can you imagine that it went by so fast?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. It's amazing how fast it's gone by. Even just looking in the last 10, how fast it goes. And the old saying is that the older you get, the faster it goes. And that's very true, especially with, family and everything.
Yep, I agree. I definitely do that. So in 1990, started your career with a Chevrolet Motor Division, at the customer call center. Same with me. And so, can you maybe go a little bit in some type of chronological order from starting there at your entry level job in the automotive industry to kind of where you are now?
Okay, so right out of college, went up to Detroit, started the Chevrolet Customer Assistance Center, and we were on the phones taking calls from customers. After that, went into there was a little stint there where I went to the legal group and worked with legal concerns, mostly with anti-lock brakes, because they were starting to come out at that time. And,
1991 Caprices, I remember that.
Yep, those police cars. And the police needed special training. As we all know, anti-lock brakes they're different than the regular brakes that lock up. And they didn't understand why there weren't skid marks at the scene and things like that.
Yep.
So they were looking for all these clues, trying to diagnose what went on at the scene of the accident, and we had to work with those teams. Then I went on to the technical assistance group and worked with you for a little short time.
Yep.
And then I was in brakes and suspension, took calls from all the technicians on anything brake related, suspension related, alignment, all that. Moved over to, I remember I had a little stint over in fuels too. And the fuels group was really cool. And that's where you were, if I remember correctly.
So then you were the fuel and drivability diagnostic expert for Chevrolet Motor Division, right?
Yep, that's right. And, you know, we would take, do you remember we were taking like, I don't know, upwards of 60 calls a day.
You may have been. I think I was only doing like 30. So I wasn't that good to do 60. So.
Oh, those fuels were a lot harder than the brakes and suspension. I remember that.
Yeah. So maybe it was 60 calls with the brakes and steering suspension, but then when you went to fuels, I think it dropped down to the 30s because you had to spend a lot more time talking to the technician about diagnosing the problem. Yep.
That's right. That's absolutely right. From there, I went to be a customer assistance manager in the Kansas City region for Chevrolet, and worked in Overland Park, and they allowed it, you know, we did a lot of all the customer assistance, the arbitration, the Better Business Bureau, purchasing vehicles back that customers weren't satisfied with was a big piece of it. And then from there, went back up to Detroit and worked as a district service and parts manager at their dealer business center in the Renaissance building there. And I had 65 dealers in greater Indianapolis, Indiana.
Wow.
And
so what floor were you on in that building?
I was on the 33rd floor.
So that was a nice view probably every day.
It sure was. We watched the tankers come through on the Detroit River there, and you overlooked to Canada, which was fun. And we could track them. It was kind of neat. There's a website where you can track them all, and some people were into that. And I did have an end seat right at the window.
Oh, so that is nice.
Yeah, so that was fun. From there, I applied for a job in engineering and got on with the service engineering group and wrote the service manual engine section for the Camaro, Firebird, and Impala at that time. And so if you've ever seen a General Motors service manual, section 6, I wrote the whole thing.
Wow.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It was a great
If I find a mistake, I'm going to call you up and talk to you about it.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. We'll have to write a service bulletin to repair that.
Yep, there you
go. But that was fun. And then from there, I heard about a job with Toyota in Kansas City at their regional office. They were expanding, going from 5 district and service parts managers to 8. And so I interviewed and got on with them in 1999.
1999. Wow. So then you've been there with Toyota for 20 years now.
Yeah, 21 years now. It's crazy. And it seems like a blink, but and the way, you know, these manufacturers and with automotive, you move around a lot, which you can get a well-rounded career. And I started right back where I was with Chevrolet as a district service and parts manager, again with Toyota, to learn everything about it, and then went on to district sales manager and did the sales and the allocation of the vehicles. That was a little different, and that's not so, you know, the nuts and bolts of cars. That's just, you know, allocating and giving the dealers the wholesale pieces that they need to sell new cars.
So then were you deciding which dealerships got which vehicles and stuff like that? Is that what you do?
Yes, and the system was somewhat automated to that, but then you work with them to make sure when they had special orders or special requests of a vehicle, you get them those.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then they work, you know, hand in hand with the sales manager and the general manager of the store all the time, the dealer principal as well. So it was great. You know, that was really fun. Obviously, I still wanted to be close to the car.
Yeah.
So
which is the fun part of the job, is the product. The product is the fun part of the job for us.
It is. So this opening came with the vehicle product training specialist as a vehicle product training specialist. And I took that job next. and really enjoyed it. Got, next to the car, was able to, what I do is I go out to the dealerships and teach the salespeople all about what's new on the car, how this functions, how you can sell it to your customer as like a feature, function, and benefit. So
Wow.
it's a really fun job.
So
And
they
that's what
become the expert of that car while you're teaching it. You have to become the expert. You have to know everything there is to know about that car, how it operates, how it's equipped, all the stats on it, horsepower, torque, all that stuff.
yeah, horsepower, yeah, all that good fun stuff. Yep. And then after that, I was able to go on to another position, the certified used vehicle, and we worked with our used vehicle certification group, and that helps dealers with better used cars, ones that come with a warranty and things like that, something they can offer their customers. And that was a great one. And then went to the field truck manager position. We were launching the new Tundra in 2007, and got to go down to the plant down in San Antonio, Texas, and got an in-depth expert look at everything, so that I was the subject matter expert. And then I went out and trained all of our salespeople on that new truck, as well as we did technician training too, because the truck was all new at that time, and we had a combination of that. So we had what we call our field technical specialists. They were along with us, and they would do the technical, we would do the sales, and then we would intermix it where it was useful to both crowds, because we wanted, at that time, Toyota was a small truck company. We always had these small compact trucks. Our first Tundra came out in 2000. It was kind of a 7/8 of a full-size truck. And then we grew to a full-size truck with 3/4 ton capabilities, and we really needed to dive into that truck and teach them well. So,
well, that's neat.
that.
I got a fun story real quick, Brett. I remember when I was at the Kansas City Training Center for Chrysler that Steve, I forgot his last name, was working for Toyota. But anyway, they brought a whole bunch of Japanese engineers into our training center to look at the Dodge truck. And they said, now this is what a real size truck looks like. This is what we want. And so I remember them looking at this new, I forgot what it was. It's probably like a 97 or 96 Ram truck. And of course, then a few years later, we got this giant Toyota Tundra comes out. So I always remember those engineers looking over that truck.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember that as well. Yep, that's Steve Eisenbarth.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. I remember his last name now. I did have a question for you. So then as you're the sales trainer, not only do you have to understand your vehicle, but then you have to understand the other products too. Like if you're trying to teach your salesman how to sell a Toyota Tundra, you probably have to understand a little bit about the Dodge trucks and the GM trucks and the Ford trucks, right?
Absolutely. So we usually, when we do what we call a train the trainer event, and we'll have the Chevrolet there, the Ford, the Dodge, and the Toyota, maybe the Nissan even as they've grown into the full size truck sales as well. But yeah, we go through them just as much as we go through our own, and then try to help the dealers in competitive comparisons on all of the products. So whether it's a Honda Accord versus a Camry, or a Civic versus a Corolla, we do all of these comparisons and put it together, and we present to our dealerships. We go into the dealerships live usually, and not during this time, with the coronavirus and everything, but we would put together like an hour presentation just on one vehicle, and then try to maybe concentrate on maybe some certain technology that is new, such as the new pre-collision systems that have recently come out. And Toyota is working on their next generation right now. We're about ready to come out with our 2.5 is what we're calling it. So we've had 1.0, 2.0, now we're going to have 2.5 very shortly.
Wow. Boy, what a fun job. I'm telling you what, man, I think that's probably one of the funnest jobs I've heard in the automotive industry, where you're able to go out and, study your product and study everyone else's product and become the expert. And, just you're just around the product all the time, just living it up.
Yeah, living it up, driving all the new cars. Love it.
Right. So what type of field vehicle does Toyota give you to drive on a daily basis?
We get to order what we want. During the time of the launch, though, we'll jump into the current launch vehicle. So normally I'm in a Tundra, but then right now I'm in a Highlander. I'm in the newest Highlander hybrid.
Wow, that's a nice vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really neat to see the technology take off. And like you said, you have to know everything about what's in the head unit now and show every screen of that to everybody so that they know what's going on. And then you have things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that everybody wants, so that technology is there. You want to be able to start the car from your smartphone and things like that. We've got that technology now too, and we can see where the car was last parked, things like that. It's really cool. So, yeah.
I tell students, it's always funny. It's like, when I went to school, we worked on distributors and carburetors, and maybe there was one computer on the car, maybe. And so now they're so complex that you're right. In fact, you need someone at the dealership just to train the owner on how to use their phone and how to use all the electronics involved, because it's so complex on each and every model.
Absolutely. We're teaching ASMs probably as much as we're teaching our technicians now, because there's so much interface there. And then you got the salesperson interface, and it's not like it was before, where we just had an AM FM radio in the car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's pretty easy to turn off and on too. So
yeah,
great. Well, what type of advice would you give a let's say a high school student? Think of yourself, you're thinking about a career in automotive technology. You're not sure. Do you have any advice you could give the future leaders of our industry?
I definitely would get involved with your industrial arts teachers in high school early, and then they can help point you to schools like Pittsburgh State. I think that's how I got pointed there. At the time, back 30 years ago, there was only one other, and it was out in Utah. Yeah. So we didn't have this, a very open format. Even the internet was not a huge thing at that point in time. So now you have all this more access to it. And like you're doing these interviews now online, you're doing classes online. So get involved with that. And then also go to the university during your junior year, maybe even your sophomore year, and start planning for that. Because the earlier you get that exposure to, okay, this is a big university, big things happen here, it doesn't become so overwhelming when you get into your junior and senior year, when you're ready to go and kind of your plan, if you will. And definitely once you get to your university, I would say the number one thing that Pittsburgh State did for me was to have that advisor side by side at all times. It was Kim Gordon, it was Dr. Brooker, we had Roger Adams at that time too. It was fantastic, and you could go to all three of them and they would help advise, but you did have your primary advisor. And I would say that's the number one thing that's going to get you on track to an OEM for the next, your job coming out of college.
Great. And what about if somebody wanted a career with Toyota? Do you have any advice on that? I know that Toyota is kind of a hard company to get in, and typically the people who go to Toyota don't ever leave. They stay there forever, and so it's a good company to work for. So, any tips for us on that?
I would say the first place is our Toyota.com website. Down at the very bottom, there's careers. Okay, so go there, and it will put you right into our careers website, where anyone can go in and look at all the jobs. You can even specify what part of the country you want to work in, and then it will lay those out. As some of our listeners may know, we recently moved our headquarters to to Texas, Plano. It's right next to Dallas. And with that, a lot of jobs are there, but we also have regional jobs, and we have internships at the Kansas City region, Chicago region, Denver region, and those different places. So the best way to look into those jobs is to get online at Toyota.com and go to the careers. Okay, they will be there as well. And then during your career fairs at Pittsburgh State, definitely we hope to be there with opportunities for the students then.
Great. Yes, that's very good advice. So in closing, any last comments you want to make? Anything else you want to talk to students about, or have you said everything that you think you need to say?
At this, one last thing I would say is, transportation, mobility, it's all changing. And we're going to cars that are not only hybrid, but we're going to the fuel cells. And so I would say the science and the math are a good piece of it if you're going to go technical. But also, if you have great people skills and talking skills with your advisor, your peers at college before you leave, get involved in any extracurricular activities such as maybe student government or
Yep.
a fraternity like you and I were, because it gives you those opportunities early. And I would say the more you do them, the more you're comfortable doing them, and it just becomes something that you can use not only in your personal life, because that's going to be important with your family, but
Mhm.
you use in your professional life as well. So I would say definitely get involved in any extracurricular you can for that. And Pittsburgh State is, it's looking back and the way the technology center has grown, it's fantastic. I'm just like honored that you're there because you were my
well,
roommate.
well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, hey, Brett, thank you very much for your time today. It was a great interview. And for those of you who are watching, if you're wanting more interviews from other people from other industries and other jobs, please look at the other a series of videos for the gorillas in the midst of the automotive industry. Thank you very much, and you guys have a good day.
See you later.